Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's time for a package from China. It's time to talk about the Pandora jungle. So in the Pandora box jungle, it's just a nightmare finding the right box for you. Simply because there are so many different versions out there that is not making any sense. I did quite some different videos about them, trying to explain what are the differences and what are we going to get with them. But at the end, they are still keep releasing new and new models and making the jungle big, and nobody knows anymore what is the best version. So we are going to talk about it. The 2020 model, I think it's the best Pandora box you can buy in this year and maybe in next year too. But we're going to get our basic stuff like all the other versions. We're going to get an HDMI cable, VGA cable, we're going to get some spare buttons. The power supply is a little bit differently because with this version we're going to get just a version like this. Normally we're having a power cord and a power supply. I must say this is the first version where I'm going to get a very nice manual. There's no glossy toilet manual today. No, it's got a very nice manual explanation how you need to add games and how the menu works. There is some minor assembly needed because, as you can see, we're removing the protection foam, that there are no ball tops on the joysticks. Yep, we're going to get these in this plastic bag, and I see that we're also going to get them with some extra spare buttons. Oh, very strange, there are no white spare buttons, but nevertheless we're going to get the ball tops, the dust covers and the screwdriver that is needed to tighten up the ball tops on the joysticks. Alright, so first let's put on the little plastic for the dust cover. Then we're going to put on the ball top, and the same is for player 2 of course. On the bottom of the case we're having the first minor improvement. Here we're having this rubber that we need to remove, and if you're looking at the hole you can see the joystick over here, so we can tighten up the screw. And the next time we don't need a screwdriver, we just need to remove the 4 bolts. We can remove them very easily like this, and when we remove all 3 of them we can flip open the case. And here we're going to find some new improvements too. With the inside, this is not our typical game box or Pandora's box. This is something completely different, and I will tell you what I mean with this. Compared with the other versions I've reviewed, first of all, this thing doesn't need a screwdriver to put it in place, so I'm very pleased with it. Okay, I'm going to tighten up the screws. I didn't do that before, just show you the holes at the bottom, but that's a way more convenient way of course if you don't want to open up the case itself, because that was the first improvement of the case. Normally only going to find one big cable tree, but they replaced it with a very big PCB, and that is controlling everything including the speakers, and that is something that is completely new. But what is different is that all the buttons, joysticks and even the speakers are connected to this big PCB. And you can see over there, they're having the EDA cable that goes on the PCB straight into the port here on the main board. And that is a completely different way of connecting it. And there we're having the Wi-Fi connectivity or the antenna. But we also can find inside having 2 speakers. Here at the right side we have the first one, and at the left side we're having the second one. That is very unique and I've never seen it before. So these are around 3 or 5 watts each, and it sounds very good. The on and off switch is also something they changed out. If you look at the previous models, now we're going to get a high quality, nice chrome on and off switch. Let's talk about the Pandora Games 3D. With the connections, it's basically all the same with the previous models. We're having the input for the power supply, HDMI, we're having VGA, jack out, volume control and setting button, and 2 USB connections. But let's take a close look at the specification of the main board. We're going to get an AM Logic S812, that is an ARM Cortex A9 quad-core CPU, RAM 2GB and a GPU that is a Mali 450 MP6. So the specification itself is not a big improvement, let's say if you look at the other versions I've reviewed. So when you take a close look at the buttons, they all have these plastic protection, but the touch itself is not bad at all. I must say when you're moving it around you can see it moves a lot around, and that's the reason why they get a little bit stuck sometimes. The joystick, it's just the Wicked Wiggle stick, more like a Samba clone. It's not bad at all, it plays very well, but I personally prefer just a real Senwa joystick or another brand. Player 1 and 2 have these extra little buttons. Here we're having the start, pause, home, select and the LS, and this is where you're connecting it to a game system. The pause button only with player 2 and it will give you the menu and the option to quick load, quick save. Keep in mind the quick load, quick save doesn't work with every system. But it's time to boot up the system and show you what you're going to get. So the intro and basically the menu are all the same. Keep in mind it doesn't even matter what kind of version you're having, if you're having Pandora Game 3D or Pandora 9H or Pandora by AES, it doesn't even matter, all the menus are basically the same. We're going to get the same features, even the same options. Okay, but when you're powering it up, you can see we're having all, category, recent and search. And the search option is very nice. The search option works very well when you're just putting in, let's say, a couple of letters. You will see that we're having already some search result and a search through the full system and all categories. But of course you can search by category. The system itself still has the same support for NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, PC Engine, Sega Dreamcast, Arcade, PlayStation 1 and Game Boys. So these are the platforms that the Pandora Game 3D supports. So with these Pandora boxes we're going to get some new features. If you're looking at the really old ones, some options are still here. The image optimization is one of the interesting parts of the Pandora Game 3D. Because with this new option we have a completely new way to play the games. You can add scan lines, you can add an HD filter, you can just mix it all up. That's of course all up to you, and that is something that is very interesting. But sadly there is no aspect ratio change option for the Pandora's box. So with the new version we're also having the game market. The game market is for me a mixed bag. I did notice some people are liking it and it works for them, but I'm not a big fan of it. You can be very naughty, that's the reason why I just call it the naughty store. But at the end I think you can just add the games by SD card, for example. That's way more convenient than the store because it doesn't work perfect. And even if you want to be naughty, you can see there's not a lot of space left, so you need to upgrade the card. Let's begin with PSP, and I can already tell you that the system is a little bit underpowered for running this perfectly.
Round 1.
Alright, so let's try some Bloody Roar 2 and let's see how this runs. It's a PlayStation 1 game and I'm very curious how this game is going to run on the board. There are not a lot of combination of Pandora Box and N64, and I can tell you that none of these boards are running N64 perfectly. You can already see here with the intro that it glitches out. Okay, so let's play a little bit and let's see how it runs. It's time for some Bumble. I just want to point out that we're going to try out the Super NES Killer Instinct, but the arcade versions are not on Pandora Box. None of them. If you want to play Sega Dreamcast on the Pandora Game 3D, that is possible, but you need to set the date every single time you boot up a game. Okay, so let's try a two-dimensional game, Marvel's Capcom 2. Most of these things run fine, but there are some things you need to know. For example, we're having the two sidebars over here and the image is not perfectly matched over there. So that's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. When you're playing the game, you can see there are some glitches going on the display. I'm guessing this is because they are not using the Dream, they are using a Dreamcast and it is not running the game perfectly. It's still playable though. So in general, the low-end stuff like two-dimensional games, let's say the Game Boy Advance, Classic, Mega Drive, Super NES are running just fine on this mainboard. And for the arcade, it's the same story. I'm very pleased to see that this game, for example Bonaza Bros, or you want to play a high-demanding game like Street Fighter 3, they are all running just fine.
Are you ready? Go!
But to conclude, if you're looking at the 2019 model, or the better said the best version from last year, there's not a lot of big improvement. So keep in mind that it doesn't even matter what kind of name it is, it's more like specification of the mainboard and of course what are the features that the mainboard having. Because at the end they are all similar to each other. But the Pandora Games 3D is still one of the best versions out there, so that is the reason I'm already saying that this is just the best mainboard you can get in 2020. If there's going to be another mainboard, of course I will make an update, but for now this is just the best mainboard that you can get in combination with the joystick. There is nothing else, there's nothing better, this is what you're going to get. It's still flawed in many ways and sadly they didn't fix many issues. So let me know in the comments what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing to the channel. It will be great to have you in the Wicked family and I will see you in the next video.